The morning sun hovered just above the horizon, casting a pale gold path across the tranquil waters off Belize's barrier reef. Dr. Kira Jensen adjusted her mask and slipped beneath the surface, the weightlessness of salt water instantly replacing the world above. Her neoprene suit, a patchwork of scars earned from past dives, rubbed against her arms as she thinned toward the coral bommies that marked the edge of her study site. All around her, schools of parrotfish and angelfish performed their silent ballet among the branching staghorn and elkhorn corals, their vibrant hues glowing in the filtered light. Beside Kira, Sol the bottlenose dolphin arced through the water with effortless grace. Ever since she'd tagged him with a non-invasive acoustic transmitter, Sol had become her constant companion on these dawn dives. Today, however, his usual curiosity had an urgent edge. He surfaced twice, nudging Kira's shoulder with his sleek rostrum, and let out a series of sharp, rhythmic clicks that vibrated through her chest plate. She followed his gaze downward, where the reef abruptly fell away into a shadowy trench. Descending along Sol's wake, Kira passed familiar sponges and glinting shoals of glassfish before the water dimmed and the coral structure gave way to ancient, smooth walls of sandstone, evidence of a long-forgotten architecture concealed by centuries of marine growth. Her heart thudded with excitement as she thinned closer. Here, Sol pressed his beak against what appeared to be a fluted column, its surface encrusted with barnacles and pink sponge. Kira ran a gentle hand over the carved grooves, revealing symbols reminiscent of Mayan glyphs, spirals, jaguar paws, and stylized waves. Her regulator hissed as she exhaled, steam-like bubbles swirling around her. Sol circled the column, squeaking insistently and pointing with his head toward a nearby archway half buried in sand. Kira's pulse quickened. She swept aside a curtain of seaweed, uncovering the base of a carved staircase leading deeper into a hidden chamber. Each step was formed from solid stone, worn smooth by time and cloaked in drifting silt. Above them, beams of sunlight fractured through the surface, illuminating motes of plankton that danced like fireflies in the gloom. A school of grunts twitched and scattered as Kira swept her dive light across the cavern walls, revealing more reliefs, a procession of canoes, laden with sable logs, gliding past a temple facade. Sol's excited whistles echoed off the stone, as though he were urging her onward. Kira closed her eyes, inhaling the salty tang of the water. In that moment, she understood she stood at the threshold of a discovery that would link reef ecology, human history, and the boundless curiosity of a dolphin. With Sol guiding her, she finned forward into the darkened corridor, ready to unveil the whispers of a sunken civilization that lay silently beneath the waves. Sol led Kira through the arching stone gateway as if beckoning her into another world. The water here was cooler, tinted a deep cobalt, and shafts of sunlight from the surface above pierced the gloom and slender, dancing columns. Tiny bubbles clung to Kira's mask as she exhaled, her heartbeat pounding in time with Sol's excited clicks. The ruins lay strewn across the sandy floor in neat rows, 10-foot-tall pillars carved from pale limestone, each crowned with a capital etched in looping scrolls and spirals. Encrusting corals, rose-pink montipora and electric blue pavona grew over the glyphs, framing them in living color. Kira brought her LED torch close, sweeping its beam across a column to reveal a carved jaguar paw beside a coiled serpent. She brushed away a film of silt with a gloved fingertip, marveling at the artistry. The curves were still crisp, despite centuries underwater. Around her, fish wove through shattered archways, parrotfish rasped on coral encrusting a fallen lintel, and chromas darted in synchronized waves through cracks in mosaic-tiled floors. Sol hovered beneath a tilted column, his head angled against the stone. When Kira shone her light on him, he clicked once and exhaled, stirring a swirl of sediment from a hidden alcove. Approaching the alcove, Kira saw a stone basin carved with concentric glyph rings, a lunar calendar charted in bas-relief. Tiny sea cucumbers crawled over its lip, and a school of silvery halfbeaks reflected the map in their flash of scales. Kira traced a finger along one ring, crescents of moon phases, each separated by a stylized shell. She tapped her slate to record the position and orientation, heart racing at the realization that this basin had guided ancient navigators under night skies. Deeper still, the passage narrowed into a vaulted hall. Columns here formed a peristyle around a half-buried altar depicting canoe-laden barges riding a stylized current. Kira knelt on sandy ground, slicing through tangled strands of algae to free the altar's base. As she cleared the last mat of seaweed, a perfect jade bowl, a Mayan alia, slid from beneath the stones. Its polished surface gleamed in her torchlight, unmarked by corrosion. Sol clicked triumphantly, nudging the bowl with his rostrum as if offering it to her. Above them, the sunlight dimmed as clouds drifted across the sky, but within this sunken chamber the discoveries glowed bright. Kira secured the jade bowl in a mesh bag, scanning the ruins for further wonders. Sol circled her in silent celebration, his every swivel of the flukes a testament to their shared triumph. Together, they lingered among the columns, listening to the ocean's hushed whispers and piecing together the story of a civilization lost to time but found again in the coral-grown stones of the deep. Of the next morning, Kira returned with a small team of archaeologists and scientific divers, hearts brimming with anticipation. They entered the underwater city guided by Sol's cheerful whistles and Kara's flickering torchlight. The water here felt colder, as if chilled by the weight of centuries spent beneath waves. Their bubbles rose in lazy spirals, illuminating walls etched with looping glyphs that danced in the torch's beam. Fan corals unfurled like seahorse manies, and tiny shrimp darted from crevices as if startled by the intrusion. At the center of the ruins lay a vaulted chamber whose ceiling had collapsed long ago, allowing shafts of light to penetrate the gloom and reveal a mosaic floor half buried in sand. The tiles, once painted in vermilion and gold, now showed only faint traces of pigment, the curve of a feathered serpent, the outline of a stylized fish. Kara knelt and gently brushed aside sediment with a soft brush, revealing interlocking symbols that mapped the lunar cycles alongside routes of ancient trade canoes. A hush fell over the team as they realized this chamber was both temple and navigational chart, a cosmic guide for seafarers who had worshipped the moon and studied the tides in equal measure. Beyond this hall, a narrow corridor slanted downward into deeper darkness. Sol clicked urgently, urging them forward, and Kira signaled divers to tighten their ranks. They passed through a forest of column stumps, where multicolored sponges clung like beaded draperies. The corridor opened into a small niche screened by dangling sea grasses. Pushing the tangle aside, Kira discovered a sealed stone chest, its lid carved with interlaced glyphs depicting a sunburst cradled by waves. With careful chisels and whispered encouragement from Sol's clicks, they freed the lid. Inside lay dozens of obsidian blades, tools sharpened to a mirror finish, and small ceramic jars containing seeds of maize and cacao, perfectly preserved in the cool, briny air. As Kira lifted a jar and held it to the light, she saw the tiny kernels glinting like amber jewels. These seeds, once offerings to sea gods, now offered a living link between past and present. Sol nudged gently at her leg, as if urging her to remember that every discovery here mattered not just to science, but to the living descendants who still honored their ancestors' memory. In that shadowed hall, among silent columns and sacred relics, the whispers of a sunken people grew into a chorus. Their story would be told again. As dawn lit the shoreline of Belize's coast, Kira led her team out of the water and onto the warm sand, dripping wetsuits glinting in the rising sun. Divers carried carefully wrapped artifacts, obsidian blades, jade bowls, seed jars, toward a cluster of shaded tents pitched near the dock. Here, Dr. Emiliano Chan,
a Maya elder and authority on ancient scripts, awaited them, his weathered face reflecting both curiosity and reverence.
Behind him, villagers gathered in quiet anticipation, children tugging at sarongs to glimpse the recovered relics. Under a canvas awning, Kira spread out the mosaic tiles from the submerged temple floor and the jade bowl on a folding table. Sol surfaced beside the dock, his sleek body bobbing in the gentle swell as if to witness the moment himself. Emiliano knelt, tracing the glyphs on the bowl's rim, a series of wave-like friezes punctuated by solar emblems. "These tell of the moon's journey," he murmured in Yucatec Maya, pausing as if listening to a distant echo. An assistant translated, "They chart lunar phases tied to fishing seasons and sacred ceremonies." The villagers murmured in recognition. This was their heritage, long submerged but never forgotten. Over the next days, teams of marine archaeologists, Maya historians, and digital specialists worked side by side. Underwater 3D scanners glided over carved columns and sunken archways, generating detailed point cloud maps. Kira guided divers back to the central chamber, where they installed benign sonar beacons among the pillars, memory markers that would allow future researchers to relocate key sites even as currents shifted the silt. Sol accompanied every dive, surfacing at their bubble's edge, guiding them around fragile corals and hidden arches. On shore, Emiliano led storytelling sessions around crackling charcoal fires. He spoke of ancestral pilots who sailed these channels under starlit skies, offering prayers to Kukulkan for safe passage. Children sat wide-eyed as he traced glyph patterns in the sand, connecting each symbol to the submerged ruins. Meanwhile, coastal rangers erected underwater signage, etched glass panels anchored near the arches, explaining each structure's purpose in both English and Spanish, and in Maya script. By week's end, the project culminated in a communal ceremony at the water's edge. Kira unveiled a digital hologram projected onto a mist of sprayed seawater, a full reconstruction of the ancient harbor city, its temples and plazas restored to their former glory in shimmering light. Sol surfaced beside her, his chirps echoing across the lagoon as villagers gasped in wonder. In that moment, the sunken civilization, once silent under the waves, stood resurrected in both stone and story, a testament to the enduring bond between human memory and marine life. As the hologram faded, Emiliano lifted his arms in blessing, and the community cheered, celebrating not only what had been lost, but what had been reborn. 6 months had passed since the first discovery beneath the waves, yet the once silent ruins now thrummed with purpose. The Belize Underwater Heritage Sanctuary, established by international treaty, stretched across the reef and its hidden temple, its boundaries marked by slender buoys and monitored by a network of eco-boats. At dawn, Kara Jensen stepped onto the dive platform of the Arrecife Explorer, her wetsuit damp from the early mist, while Sol, decked in a bright orange identification collar, chuffed in greeting, his eyes gleaming with recognition. Below them, the sun's rays penetrated crystal-clear water, illuminating the restored columns arrayed like sentinels along the seabed. Juvenile parrotfish scraped algae from the stone capitals, their bright hues mingling with swaying sea fans. Above the central plaza, a digital plaque housed in a pressure-resistant casing glowed with soft blue light. It displayed rotating images of Maya glyphs and underwater maps, updated in real time by acoustic sensors that tracked shifting sand. Tour divers hovered respectfully, guided by a cadre of trained stewards who pointed out the mosaic friezes that once charted lunar cycles. As Kira led a small group through the grand archway, Sol surfaced beside them, nudging a curious diver's leg with playful clicks. A child from a local village, visiting on a school program, peered wide-eyed at the Dolphin. "He's showing us the way," the child whispered in Spanish, and the group laughed softly. Kira paused at the altar room, where humming sea cucumbers had been gently relocated to reveal the stone basin once used for moonrights. She demonstrated how a modern submersible camera traced the basin's glyphs, projecting them live onto a screen mounted on the dive boat for remote students to watch. Back on shore, volunteers and Maya elders gathered beneath a canopy of palm thatch. Emiliano Chan unveiled the first batch of ceramics purified and conserved by a local artisan collective. Each painted vessel, that had spent centuries beneath salt and sand, now bore fresh coats of natural sealant and protective lacquer. Elders traced each glyph and shared oral histories of Mayan pilgrims offering cacao to sea deities, linking past ceremonies to present efforts to protect marine life. Kira distributed seed packets of native mangroves, grown from descendants of the ancient temple's offerings, to villagers eager to plant nursery beds that would buffer rising tides and nurture juvenile fish. As afternoon light warmed the Reef Cafe overlooking the lagoon, researchers and community members feasted on fresh conch ceviche and mango papaya salsa. Laughter rose above the hum of ceiling fans, and Sol's joyful chirps drifted through open windows. Kira raised a glass of coconut water. To the reef, she toasted, a living archive of our shared past and our future. Nearby, a plaque bearing Sol's name read, Sol, Dolphin Guide and Guardian of the Reef. When evening fell, Kira donned her mask one last time and slipped beneath the waves with Sol at her side. Lanterns attached to their vests cast gentle halos around the columns as they glided past. In the hush of the deep, Kira felt the same exhilaration she had that first dawn, the magic of discovery, the bond of human and dolphin, and the promise that the ocean's whispers, once buried, would resonate for generations to come. As Sol led her back to the surface, Kira knew this was only the beginning of countless stories yet to unfold among the coral-grown stones of a civilization reborn.